So the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs are currently playing probably one of the greatest games this season, a rematch of last year's divisional postseason matchup that ended up leading to the Bengals somehow making it to the Super Bowl. That's salt for a different time. But instead of watching a masterpiece between the future of the next Brady and Manning going head-to-head, I get to talk to you guys today on this beautiful Sunday, October the 16th, in the year of our Lord, 2022. The Cleveland Browns are such a poverty franchise, and I'm sick of it. I'm absolutely done with it. I'm going to go on quite the rant here. You may be sitting in your seat watching this for a little bit longer than expected, because I'm sick of it. We're going to take this back to probably 2012, let's say, give or take. Always watch the Browns and the Buckeyes every weekend. And of course, Ohio State, always been a powerhouse. Some seasons they would have 3 or 4 losses. They weren't exactly as dominant then as they were now necessarily, but they were still a wonderful football team. Enjoyed watching them all the time because they looked good. And even at the young age of 7 or 8 years old, I decided for some reason, whatever reason it was, that I felt that the Browns were more entertaining than the Ohio State Buckeyes. Maybe because it felt like each win was more redeeming and rewarding, because that's how bad the Browns were when I was younger. And I'm going to be honest with you, it hasn't gotten much better. Today's game against the New England Patriots finished with a final of 38-15. Another week of disappointment, as expected. And if you haven't expected this as a Browns fan yet, I don't even know if you're a fan of this football team. This team gives you nothing but the feeling of awfulness. You wait every Sunday to watch this team perform, and then they throw their shirts on the field for 3.5 hours each and every Sunday afternoon just to make you regret ever growing up a Browns fan. This is just pure pain and bliss. I'm speaking from the heart when I say this. I would rather go apple picking with my grandmother every Sunday for the remainder of my life than have to sit through every Browns game the way that I watched it today. It is so unbelievably awful to have to watch the Cleveland Browns. Voice crack, don't care. Play the way that they played today. See, this team is straining my voice. I am unhealthy because of this football team. I don't understand how to put it. Let's start when we're down 24-9. We're going to start at an appropriate place in the football game. At this point, the Cleveland Browns defense has officially hit their tipping point. They're on the other side of the iceberg. Their ship is starting to sink. This is kind of expected with the Browns defense. Usually around the fourth quarter, they just completely tank. But we're going to go back to when it's 24-9. A couple fourth down conversions from the Browns. Peoples-Jones made an incredible catch. He's been one of the few Browns players that I have consistently actually enjoyed watching, and I actually have a signed Peoples-Jones jersey because he's one of those only enjoyable Cleveland Browns players to this day still. So shout out to him for still being a dog. But we're going to talk about a couple of issues that I have with this drive. So Amari Cooper, a great catch. Can't remember if it was 3rd or 4th and goal. I want to say it was 4th and goal. So Browns trail now 24-15. Kevin Stefanski, in his absolute analytical genius, decides he wants to go for 2. Now, if you've been a Browns fan for more than just the past couple of years, a familiar face within Cleveland, Freddie Kitchens, in the year 2019, the year of our Lord, decided in that exact stadium to go for 2 against the Baltimore Ravens in Week 16, where the Browns were in their last lingering hopes. They were eventually eliminated from the playoffs. He went for 2 in a circumstance that all he had to do was kick the extra point and keep hope alive, but instead, he completely diminished all hope. Now, Stefanski, very aggressive coach, which can be okay, but with a team like the Cleveland Browns, who are constantly on their heels defensively, it just cannot afford to give up less than 20 points a game. Our defense is awful. I'm just going to put it that way. Our defense sucks. How can we not put points on the board constantly, right? So 24-15, let's shift it back here. 24-15, Kevin Stefanski decides we're going to go for 2 now and make it a touchdown game. Interesting decision there, Kevin, but you know what? We're going to see how this one turns out. Red flag number 1 is going for it. Red flag number 2, no Nick Chubb on the field. The greatest running back in the NFL today, and in my opinion, I will die on this mountain, the best running back in the NFL, probably the last 2 years, unfortunately doesn't even see the field on what has become the most important play of this football game. Not only that, Kareem Hunt's in the backfield. That's cool. He can run the football too. He's good. Not as good as Nick Chubb. Not as dominant in the red zone as Nick Chubb, but he's good too. One play from the 2-yard line. We have Jacoby Brissett, who was called up to fill in for the absence of Deshaun Watson, our $230 million man. and we decide for whatever reason we want him to throw the football to make it a 1-score game, a 7-point game rather, because it would have been 8 kicking the extra point. And Cade York had a good day, good bounce back day for him. I wish he put it together against the Chargers and the Jets too, but that's for a different day. So Stefanski, not only red flag number 1, he goes for it. Red flag number 2, no Nick Chubb on the field. Red flag number 3, throws the football. There's 3 fingers right there. He throws the football. All of these things are absolutely unacceptable. So the Browns obviously don't convert as a result. 24-15 the score. Still about 6:15 left in this game. Still a possibility the Browns will win this. And wisely enough, on whether it's Mike Priefer's decision, the special teams coordinator, or Stefanski's call, the Browns decide to go for an onside kick, which is respectable in that circumstance, and I probably would have done the same. We end up recovering. But a man by the name of A.J. Green, and not the superstar receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals, about 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, talking about the cornerback for the Cleveland Browns, he was out of bounds on that play. That is the most Browns thing to ever happen. You recover the onside kick, yet the other team still gets the ball. Browns haven't completed an onside kick successfully since the year 2016. That year, we went 1-15. This team brings me nothing but pain, but we're gonna add to it here, just when you thought it was over. So 24-15 the score. The Browns able to get a stop. Well done by Myles Garrett today. He had a forced fumble, 2 sacks. Good bounce back game for him. I know he's still recovering from that car accident, so not going to pin too much blame on him, although he hasn't had a lot of pressure. Clowney was out today. He had a great bounce back day. We'll just leave it at that. So the Patriots punt. Now Chester Rogers. And I'm not even going to put the blame on him too much. He is way too aggressive of a punt returner, kick returner. Constantly diving at balls that are unnecessary, that I'd rather see bounce 6, 7, 8 yards back further than have the opportunity to fumble. Staring into the sun, he loses the football. And in that moment, the Browns just completely fell flat. The very next play, little jet sweep that Joe Woods, of course, is going to allow a courtesy valet into the end zone. The Browns go down 31-15. And at this point, everybody starts leaving the stadium, going to hit up the Guardians game. Go Guards tonight. Hopefully they pull through with the W, the only bright spot in Cleveland. A young and ambitious team, unlike the Cleveland Browns, but, it's postseason baseball, so we'll talk about that at a different time too, hopefully, especially if they win the World Series, which I absolutely hope they do. But, so back to this, 31-15, and the Cleveland Browns are trailing by 16 points now, so we get the football back, and Jacoby Brissett, the absolute dominant quarterback that he's claimed to be in the first couple of weeks statistically, he pulls a Johnny Manziel. Now, this is going a little bit further back for you newer Browns fans. I want to say it was probably 2014 when this happened. I could be wrong, though. Johnny Manziel managed to fumble with nobody anywhere near him. Just kind of threw the ball behind him, and he lost it. And Jacoby Brissett does the exact same thing today. I quite literally got PTSD to that 2014 Browns team, which I believe went 3-13. Awful, just pitiful, just sad. Patriots recover. They have the ball up by 16. And this is what really sets me off, right? The Browns have already been beaten. Mentally, physically, the game is over. Everybody's leaving. But there's one man on the Cleveland Browns sideline that for some reason, whatever reason, thinks that the Browns have a chance. He saw what the Jets did to the Browns, and he goes, no, this game's not over. Let's continue. That man's name is Kevin Stefanski. The score is 31-15. The Browns trail by 16. The Patriots have the ball inside the Browns' 10 and field goal range, a chip shot field goal to make it a 3-possession game with about 4 minutes left. This game is inevitably over. The Browns are not winning. Instead of taking an early shower, going home, figuring out the problem, Kevin Stefanski wants to take timeouts. He burns timeouts. All of a sudden, the man whose play calling has been abysmal up to this point, that man wants to be the hero in Cleveland today. Well, if we take timeouts, maybe the Browns have a chance to score 2 touchdowns, 2 two-point conversions. Stop talking, Kevin. Take an early shower. Go home. Fix your game plan. The Browns are 2-4, and at least 2 of those 4 losses have been because your play calling sucks. It is awful. I'm through with how bad your play calling has been. It has cost the Browns games. You have a worse gambling addiction than Mattress Mac. I don't understand how you constantly lose these 4th down scenarios You're constantly losing points all over the place. It's awful. But you are taking timeouts down by 16 to Bill Belichick, the greatest coach in the history of the NFL. He wants to go home early too, but he's going home early in a happy mood because the Patriots did what they were supposed to do. Despite having, I can't even imagine how many penalties they had. They were able to completely dominate the Browns because the Browns cannot take advantage of scenarios. But in this scenario, Kevin Stefanski wants to take timeouts. A couple plays later, Rhamondre Stevenson runs it in on 3rd and goal with a little push from that awful Joe Woods defense. Patriots go up 38-15. That would be the final score of this game. I guess what I'm not understanding is just how it is possible for this team to be so consistently bad. We're going to take it back to the year 2000 when the Browns first came back to Cleveland. I was born in 2005. Didn't even get to see that. I'm glad I didn't get to see that, actually, because that would have been even awful growing up a Browns fan back in that day. Just would have been terrible. This team has had one winning season in my lifetime. My entire life. I turned 17 on Thursday. In my lifetime, the Browns have had one winning season. You go to the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin. They have never had a losing season under Mike Tomlin. This is where coaching makes a complete difference. Management makes a complete difference. Ownership makes a complete difference. I think the even bigger picture and the bigger issue with the Browns is that Jimmy and Dee Haslam know two things. Keep everything the same and hope for a different result, or blow everything up and restart from scratch. There is no putting the pieces of the puzzle together. There is no taking it one step at a time. It is blow everything up or keep everything the same. Anyways, can't wait to watch them again next Sunday. Go Browns. Have a good night, everybody.